Hello, everyone. My name is Jenny and I'm an astrologer, and I work with Archangel Metatron in bringing these messages forward when we talk about what's happening in the energy, it's the astrology. So that's what we talk about in these videos. And I just got back from the city. I wanted to make sure that I got into the city of Chicago during the Gemini season. So I had a friend in from out of town and we went to see Hamilton today. So I'm still wearing I still have my heels on too. But I wanted to make sure that this video gets out Sunday. So I'm making it on Saturday night. And I wanted to thank everybody for your kind emails and comments of what in reference to what I spoke about in the last video, some of the struggles that I had been having. And I really appreciate that. And I appreciate those of you who shared with me that that's a story that you've also been having. So I hope that you always find it helpful. A friend of mine who does this work was saying that, sometimes people will say, oh, I didn't have any idea that you go through this and that. And, we're all in this together, really. We might not all have these things come up at the same times, but, struggle is part of the human experience. And, at this time, we're all concentrating on keeping our vibrations raised because it's rough out there, if you haven't noticed. I made a post on Facebook. Oh, also, I wanted to mention that in the last video I made, I talked about making a twin flame healing meditation video. I think I said a few days later. So I got caught up in the Mercury Out of Bounds energy. My daughter, I've shared before, my daughter has special needs and she cannot brush the hair out of her eyes. She can't do anything like that for herself. So between school and day camp, when she's at home, it's all me all day, all night. So I don't know what I was thinking when I said that, because it wasn't an opportune time, is what Metatron is saying. And then after 4 or 5 days passed and I thought, okay, next week, then I found out a lot more things about my own personal story with the twin flame journey. And so I've really needed time to process. And I took a look at the astrology of the solstice, and there's actually a lot of stuff happening. It looks like for twin flames coming up with that energy. And that's just 5 days from now. I'm making this on the 15th, but that's the 21st. So I'm going to do that video then. Okay. So, I think that we're okay. I was like, wait, I didn't ask, but yeah, that video will be done then. If not, then before then is what Metatron is saying. So anyway, everybody, and I want to just encourage all of you who shared with me that you've been having struggles with depression to, really, if you feel like it's helpful to go and talk to someone, or, if you see a healer, there are so many people that want to help and that are equipped to do that. I talk to my teacher, one of my mentors, once a week. And so if you can, if you have opportunity to do that, I would encourage you to do that. I also wanted to mention, because when I shared the story of what's been happening with my digestive system, a lot of you also shared that you've been having, or that you have had, or that you just live with this kind of thing. The gut-brain connection can't be understated. They even now, I've known for years that was a link with autism. With my daughter's diagnosis, it's actually a protein. That's the problem. And, we have significant food allergies on all of my family, and then my ex-husband's family as well. But when you've got when you're having gut issues, it can trigger, symptoms of depression when there's an imbalance, chemical imbalance. So, I just wanted to mention that. that, look at your diet when these things, because they go together. They really do. So, okay. Anyway, everybody, I just really wanted to thank all of you because I did have a lot of really kind emails. And yeah, somebody was like, "Oh, you must have been gripping like pretty hard when you share those things." And it is not easy for me to do that, but I'm glad that I did. And I also wanted to say, I was watching a video a while ago and I noticed that the ankh that I'm wearing, it looks like a cross. So I just want to be clear that that is an ankh. I was never a fan of the martyrdom symbol for Jesus, even when I was wearing it. I just didn't, I don't know. I don't like that symbol. I want like the gravestone being rolled away for that. So anyway, after I made the video, Metatron started playing, the song "It's All About the Climb" by Miley Cyrus. So I titled the video that, and I didn't talk about it in the video because he hadn't said that to me until the video was over. But then right after I made the video, I'm on a page on Facebook, California Photography, I think it's called, and it's beautiful pictures that people post of, all over the state of California. And one of the pictures, which as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, it was a mountain, and the upper half, like upper third of the mountain was covered in fog. And that's a lot like the energy that's really perfect for the energy, to just the way that we're going to describe what is happening now for everybody. Neptune is, divine inspiration. It's the planet of spirit. It's the planet where we realize that we are all connected to and a part of the energy of pure unconditional love, that we're each a spark of that. And then just like every other planet has its, the duality, the higher and the lower energies, the lower frequency of Neptune is isolation, pain, feeling like you're completely alone, like locked away. When you can, a lot of confusions, delusion. You see Neptune plays a big role in people with charts with mental illness. It represents like Pisces as hospitals and mental institutions. And with everything that we have happening with Neptune, we're all a bit foggy right now too. A lot of you are talking about how tired you are. And me too. I mean, I notice when I look at the videos, I look really tired. And if you have any planets at 18 degrees or around 18 degrees, and depending on your own Neptune, that has a lot to do with us being tired. And this entire year, Jupiter expands and blows up, magnifies whatever planet and energies he's connected with. And when he is squaring Neptune, that's making us all tired. So they're coming into their exact perfection of the square this week, but that's really, we're contending with that all week. That's something that it's happening 3 times. We've got one more time. We're at the second go around, but that's of the perfection of it. Those are big boys. And so they don't have to be that close in orb for that to be a problem, to feel exhausted. Okay. So it's great for downloads, but it does make us sleepy. And if you have planets at 18 degrees, then you are feeling the full effects of that. Neptune has been at 18 degrees of Pisces since the 30th of April. And he's not going to leave that degree, 18 degrees, until August 17th. Okay, so he's actually on my north node. And your nodes, by the way, we're going to talk about this a little bit in the video because the eclipses are coming up. The nodes are very important. Treat your nodes the same, give them the same respect and equivalence as the planets. The nodes are very important in your chart. So he will move retrograde on the 22nd of June, and he will stay retrograde until December 1st. Now, when Neptune moves retrograde, it's really, that spirit and the collective. And I tell people in sessions that a lot of times we as astrologers, I don't think credit Neptune enough as the karmic relevancy that he has. Not, and I don't mean that in a negative karma, but where, spirit takes a hand is what Metatron is saying. So when he goes retrograde, we can find out a lot of secrets, things that have been hidden, a lot of things that were maybe shrouded in secrecy come to light. It can also play the other way, where during a Neptune retrograde, you want to be extremely careful of what you believe. And this is where, we talked about Pisces, it's King Neptune standing in the ocean with his trident: trust, faith, hope. There could be things that come up during the period when he's retrograde, maybe that I'm saying test. Metatron is saying it: check up for test up, let's see how much you really trust, how much you have faith, and how strong your beliefs are. It can test us in all of those ways. And especially because Jupiter, which also the ancient ruler of Pisces, he's also retrograde through August 5th. So, we're talking about the June 22nd to August 5th, both of them being in retrograde, and then coming into July just after eclipse season. 5 planets are going to be retrograde. And it's a lot of the big guys. So the energy that we're contending with now, moving into this full moon, and then the solstice comes just after, and then we move into eclipse season not 2 weeks after that, after the solstice. A lot of this is we're reviewing. We're closing up, wrapping up the end of a cycle all day. When I was driving into the city, there were a lot of 9s, and I said to Metatron, "Oh, 9s today, huh?" And then we got to the theater, and I hadn't really looked at our tickets, and I said to my friend, "Oh, we're sitting in aisle 9." And she was in row 204, or she was in 204, I was in 205. Again, we got the 4 and the 5, the 9s. So he's been bringing that to my attention too. And how, we talked about this. I want to say that was like the fall equinox, that we really were getting like a lot of 9s in a lot of, like, it was like a lot of stories of wrapping up endings and karmic cycles. And then Mercury went through his retrograde. It's just been, like I've been saying, the full moons and the new moons kind of look like which is the starting point and which is a wrapping up. They're kind of both doing the same thing these days. And it is because we're wrapping up the ending of a cycle. I believe when 2012 came that we moved into just a different period altogether. And I believe too that, as Metatron said, that it's very easy now to see like who is going to go the way of the light and who is going to go the way of shadow, or I don't want to even say shadow, but maybe just as wrapped up in their own ego things happening and not interested in, being the light or doing things of the light. But yeah, so with everything that's happening with the Neptune and Capricorn being the mountain, okay, and the mountain, the goat that is climbing up that very steep, rocky mountain that has a lot of cliffs, and that you almost feel like a daredevil, climbing up that rock face, that we're daredevils. And we can't quite see what's at the top of the mountain. We're going on faith and hope and trust. And it's so easy to get wrapped up right now in all of the bad news that's coming out. It looks like politically, when I look at the energies for the full moon and the solstice, it looks like geopolitics there's going to be a whole lot of talk, that's for sure. And just, people wanting to, it's what they're saying is true, and they've got the right answer and they've got the right way. And with religion too, we can get that way. I feel like sometimes in the spiritual community that we feel like we're maybe above. And we aren't. We're just seeing things from the higher perspective. And what you see from the higher perspective is that everything is always perfect. And there's never a need to call anyone out or to judge anyone's path. I have, in a timeline that's parallel with this timeline, they showed me a couple months ago that I'm not very nice. They were showing me, the whole point was that they were showing me that I'm not awake there. And the person who is my twin flame is with me there and is trying to convince me. My mother, who also, has nothing to do with this kind of stuff, she's also trying to convince me to wake up and to see the light. And I'm like, I don't know what you people are talking about, because that's not my role there, I'm also an attorney, which is funny because it's in my natal chart. It does look like I'm an attorney in my natal chart, but not here. So yeah, you can see a lot of things in your natal chart, believe me. But the point is that what I'm doing there, and being an attorney and not being awake is just as righteous to the Creator, and just as, the Creator loves me just as much and approves of me just as much, whether I'm awake or whether I'm asleep. And just like he does everyone, so really, like, this isn't a good time to be trying to convince anybody of anything, really, in the astrology, because you could end up with a fiery conversation happening. Things could get taken way out of context, and just there could be misunderstanding, and there could be anger that flares up, especially in the energy that we have right now. So what else was I going to? So we talked about Neptune, and then Mercury. Mercury will be back in bounds on the 18th. And then on the 20th, he will enter shadow. So we're going into eclipse season with Mercury in shadow. He will begin his retrograde on the 5th of July. I'm talking about this for July now because I know a lot of you want to get your Mercury things taken care of before he moves retrograde. So he goes retrograde on the 5th of July, and he will be retrograde he comes to the degree where he begins his retrograde on the 5th of July. So he begins to slow down, which we don't feel that so much in Mercury. He's been out of bounds, so pretty much what we've been contending with these last few weeks is the way that it's going to feel. And I remember when that happened before, Mercury felt like he was retrograde for 6 years in February. It felt like it. When that was going on, like, he went out of bounds right before that retrograde, and I thought to myself, man, if this is a heads up for what's coming, so we'll see what happens. Because I don't know about you guys, I've just had, like, not even like a big deal, like anything tragic. I mean, during the Mercury retrograde, my stove caught on fire, like the burner, and my dishwasher died, but nothing like that has happened. But just, like, technical things are coming up a lot, especially with technology. Even today with tickets, I had something. So and that's where with Mercury retrograde, the reason that we say, like, oh, don't sign a contract, is because what happens is, like, I promised the video. And at the time, I totally thought, like, yeah, I'm going to do that video in a few days, not thinking it through. I wasn't, like, thinking, like, oh, wait, that makes no sense at all, because I'd have to be 2 people to do that video in a few days. It's because we feel like we're in a hurry. We feel like we need to get to it. We need to get here. We need to get there. We need to do this. We need to do that. And we've had a lot of that with Mars out of bounds as well, which now he's fine. He's back in bounds. He's still not in a place where he likes to be. And for the full moon coming up, he is going to be with Mercury at the time of the full moon. And so they're going to be in Cancer with the North Node, okay? So what Metatron was pointing out with that was that it's focused intention. Even if that's all it is. It's a full moon, so that's a time where things are released, things are illuminated, and it's opposing the Saturn, Pluto, South Node conjunction, Mercury and Mars. So we could, point our arrow, maybe don't even pull it back. Maybe just kind of make sure you've got the aim, that you're accurately aiming and that you got the right target. And maybe Metatron said, maybe go for some target practice before you actually release that bow. But yeah, this is why I'm saying that, like, words of anger, there can also be a lot of, and I made a post about this on Facebook, a couple of them this week. The energy is a lot of insecurity. Okay. And that's with the node in Cancer. When the North Node, and if you've done a session with me before and we talk about the fourth house or Cancer, or your moon, that is the nest. Okay. That's the refuge and the safe place to fall, and where you feel that you're comforted, you're at home, you're secure. And, no one is going to invade there. And when we've got the North Node there, and it's facing the South Node, Saturn Pluto conjunction, and that's going to be happening. Though that Saturn Pluto energy is the whole time that the nodes are in Capricorn and Cancer, we're going to be contending with this, okay? And that's literally like the earth moving beneath our feet, things shifting and moving and not knowing what's happening next. Not being able to see the top of the mountain, just trusting and having faith and believing in yourself. Believing in yourself that you're going to get to where it is that you want to go, and asking the Creator to bring in the soulmates and to allow you to hear the angels and to follow the signs, Also with this full moon, it's pretty spectacular because it's happening. We've talked about the gate of the gods, not the super galactic center, the galactic center, which is at the last degrees of Sagittarius. And this full moon is knocking on the door of that gate. Okay, it's really cool. And then even better is that this is in Sagittarius, so it's answering to Jupiter. And Jupiter is also in Sagittarius, and he is sitting at a degree in Sagittarius where we find what's called the Great Attractor. Okay, so both of them are anomalies, black holes. The Great Attractor, I don't think they know as much about. But it's, hundreds of millions of miles wide, these spaces, and they know that it pulls things in. They don't know exactly why. Okay. But I think it's really cool that we have those planets both at those points. And, ruling this full moon, when we're talking about illumination and spirit, things coming to light. It's when we find out things that, maybe we've been asking, we've been wanting answers to. This could be wrapping up something, and it depends on where it is in your chart. But Metatron had pointed out to me that we're wrapping up personal stories. Okay, things that maybe even other people don't know about, but something that's personal to you. And coming up to the ending karmic cycles in order to be able to start again. But you talk about like getting downloads and illuminations with these energies, with the galactic center, the gate of the gods. And it's believed that that's where our sun gets the downloads from the central sun at that portal. And it's not the one that NASA took a picture of, but they do know that there's a radio signal that's coming from it. That's all they've been able to see of that so far. But that young girl, hopefully she'll get to that one next. The girl that invented that camera. And then he was also reminding me that this could be a time when Neptune and Jupiter are doing this, that we could be having feelings, some of us, of not being good enough. Maybe wanting to overextend ourselves, making promises to people that are just not feasible, out of a feeling of, and this is a good time too, he was pointing out, to be of service to others and to give to others. That's Neptune as well, compassion. And, reaching out to those who are hurting, especially if you know anyone who struggles with addiction or, any kind of escapism, or just struggles with feelings of depression. This is a great time to reach out to those people, because it's really rough out there, and we know what's going on, and we still have those days. Imagine for people who are, relatively new or have a relationship with spirit, but don't maybe follow things as closely as we do. it's not that easy right now. So it's a really good time if you can, not to make a sacrifice, but, just to let people know that you're there for them. Do something kind for someone, pay for the person behind you at the drive-through. That's always a nice thing to do. I love it when that happens to me when I'm, and then of course you want to pay it forward and do that for somebody else. And then also, he was talking about that this could be a time where we all feel like we're being pushed out of our comfort zone. Maybe we aren't, choosing to step out, but it's like we can't, when our soul there's an intention that something is going to happen at a certain time, we'll get a lot of, like I always say, the universe drops a pebble, then it drops a rock, then it drops a boulder. Like it will happen at some point that you might be moved out of your comfort zone. And he was saying too that we're all feeling the energies of battle. And when Mercury and Mars are together, it can be a battle of the mind. And in Cancer, it's an emotional battle, or it struggles with people who intimately. Okay, Cancer. And when Mars is in Cancer, and it's the most intimate, space where we feel safe, we're nurtured, we're taken care of, we found a shelter and a refuge, and Mars is there. Mars is like poking at that, it's not comfortable. And when you have that Saturn and the shifting beneath your feet going on, and opposing Cancer and what's happening in Cancer right now, it makes it even more uncomfortable. So really, this is when we, this is when we find out what we're made of and why we went to all those workshops, and we've gotten all of the tools that we have, even the deep breathing, looking at doing candle gazing. A lot of you, I've taught the heart song, which I learned from Vienna Steibel. In sessions that I do, I teach that when Metatron, asked me to give that to someone. It's a great exercise to do as well. Any meditations that you can do for your heart chakra on YouTube. There's so many different meditations for the heart chakra. And also, I just, when we give to other people, it makes you feel so much better, doesn't it? It really does. So anytime that you feel like you could be of service to anyone else this month. And then he was bringing up how when I made that video, and it's so funny because this was a good example of the Mercury Out of Bounds thing that happened to me. I have a personal YouTube channel. I do not upload videos there, but I have people follow me there, even though I'm not ever going to release a video on that channel. And for some reason last fall, I had made the video where, remember, if you were watching me then, it was like end of October. It was around my birthday. It was around November. Or end of October, beginning of November. And I was standing on one mountain, and I was pointing out the mountain that was far away, and it was called Long's Peak. Okay? And remember how the wind kept taking my voice? And when I listened to it later, I was like, what the heck? But I think this is what we're talking about now. And then I pulled cards. The next day I did another video. I think they were all in the same video. But I pulled cards, and I used Colette Baron Reed's Spirit Animal Oracle. All of the cards that I pulled were birds. And he was pointing out then, we're taking the long view. And sometimes there could be confusion, or you feel like you're not able to hear what it is that you need to hear Spirit say, because you're growing, and we grow. It's like when our kids start walking, we don't constantly hold their hands to make sure that they don't fall. At some point we let go. Yeah, he's saying we take off the training wheels, and we want to see how they're going to do on their own. It builds confidence. And this is a time with, Neptune, with our intuition, where we're really being asked to trust in the higher picture, to see the higher perspective in everything that may come up, okay? And I haven't gotten, any, like people said to me, I guess there was stuff going around about the end of April. if Metatron doesn't let me know that, I would be very surprised. Very surprised. Okay. He's never withheld that kind of thing from me before. So when it's a time to share something like that, I will always share it. But there is a lot of energy still. It looks like volcanoes and earthquakes, definitely, when you look at the energy that's happening. I love it that at the time of the full moon, Vesta, who represents the Vestal Virgins, the High Priestess energy, Uranus, which is change and, things that happen that we aren't expected, and then Heimdall, which is the representation of the asteroid that represents the Metatron energy. They're all at the same degree or like within a degree of each other. And they're at actually the midheaven, like the highest point of the sky. What's seen publicly, what's lasting, the legacy energy. So that's very interesting. That's happening at the full moon. And then, what else was I going to say? Oh, St. Michael's asteroid, it just happens to be at the descendant. This is another thing about that in the insecurity that we were talking about. That's why Michael has been making an appearance, is what he's saying. I've been working a lot with him in session time too, because Cancer happens to be my fourth house. So it depends on your own chart. But at some point, that whole thing of insecurity, and I know that it's already happened for some of you, went through different situations that you've already worked through. But at some point, all of us will have things come up like that, because it's time for us to do that. So Michael is a great way to feel that sense of security, to feel like you're taken care of. You just ask them, any of them, to come. Jesus, I've been, I'm always, very close to Jesus. But Michael has that like big brother energy. Not that I don't feel safe and protected with Jesus. I'm just saying that if you feel at all insecure, the blue rays, the vibrations of Mother Mary, the vibration of Michael are great to have in your space. The mother, the divine mother who comforts and nurtures. And when I do healings for people with mother issues, I always call on Mary to come into their heart space, because I think that a lot of us don't know what it's like to feel the unconditional love of a mother in our heart. And she can always fill that space, and she's happy to do that anytime. And what else did I want to talk about, Metatron? Just focused intention and understanding that there is a big picture. Even if you can't see it right now, it's there. There is a big picture. There's a plan for you. They're not going to ever miss a divine timing or ever be in the wrong place or doing the wrong thing or not doing enough. You are enough, and you are doing exactly what you're meant to do. Whatever makes you happy, whatever fills your heart, whatever brings you joy is what exactly you should be doing. So if you haven't found that yet, this is a good time to, meditate and really ask for guidance. When I have signs, literally when I open my eyes in the morning, I can look out at the sparrows in the bushes from my window. And if there's only one there, I know there's a problem. Once you start, and that's just, I'm not saying that that's always true, but that's one of my things. But the point is that when you ask the universe to show up for you and to let you know that you're not alone, that you're not forgotten, the universe will always, always answer you. Always answer you. You may not audibly hear the answer, but it's answering you. And it's in the animals, it's in the colors that you see, it's in the license plates sometimes. I have one girl that I know, and she's constantly sending me pictures of license plates because she gets numerology. She gets all kinds of messages from license plates. So the universe is going to respond to you. You are part of the creator. You are one with the creator of all that is. You're never alone. The entire universe is part of your energy. Okay? You exist with the universe, and the universe exists with you. And the universe is there for you. Just raise your hand and say, listen, Metatron, I really need an extra boost. If there's anything you could do to show me that you're there for me today, he will definitely do that. Definitely. I mean, just today, when I was driving home from the city, I can't remember what I was saying to him. And then I was like, I think I was saying like a sign specifically from him, but I don't remember what we were talking about. And right after I had the thought, a crane came flying over my car. Birds are huge with me because the birds are my thing. So, they always talk to me with the different birds, and even by the numbers of birds, I know what that means. And like, I'll call a friend and be like, I haven't seen two birds together all day. Then I literally know like something's, he needs to tell me something. So, yeah, the universe is always there for you, and just ask to be shown and to see. Ask for dreams. If you are saying, sometimes people can be like, "Oh, I don't see, I don't hear, I don't." Well, then that's what you're creating, okay? So, it's whatever as we speak, abracadabra. As I speak, I create. As I think, I create. Every thought that you have is an energy, an intention that goes out to the universe. And when Neptune is squaring Jupiter, that's going to happen. Whatever you're thinking is going to happen. Do you know how they showed me that? I was having one of those days, which I talked about in the last video. And I want to just reiterate that once my twin, I almost said X. That's weird, isn't it? Once my twin flame and I stopped processing one another's stuff, that was huge. I mean, huge. And it was mostly for him, actually. Well, I'll get into that when we talk about when we do that healing. But I'm much better. So, oh shoot, now I totally lost the train of thought, and it's getting really late. Yeah, thought you think as you speak, okay, and when you think, you're creating something. So I had one of those days. And I said it to him. I was being a whiner, okay? I said, it's like the whole universe is against me. Okay, I was really, okay, yeah. And literally, not 30 seconds, maybe 10 seconds went by, and the burner caught on fire. And the fire kept growing, and I kept saying, Metatron, Metatron. Because I was like, I keep a tea kettle filled with water on my stove because I'm a Scorpio and I have a lot of fire in my chart. So I always have water handy. And I'm a pretty good cook too. But I mean, there's still a lot of fires. But it's never, the coil of the burner has never like burned down before. So I was like, oh, okay. I guess I'll just erase that energy. So anyway, nothing, thank goodness, like nothing else caught on fire. It was just the coil and everything was fine. But yeah, he was like, oh, think so? No, I mean, he's not starting a fire in my kitchen, but the point was being made to me by the universe. You're creating that things are going against you. So just every day, I surrender to the process of my own transformation. I am one with all that is through the frequency of pure unconditional love. I am in harmonious alignment with my higher self and the one true self, the creator of all that is. Every day, I say that. I say that sometimes several times a day. So, and I wanted to mention too, that, yeah, we had the Emerald Fire meeting. We're going to do another one on 7/7. So that'll be fun because it's a gateway day. So, yeah, that's something that you can always do in service. And I appreciate all of you who give up that 45 minutes to an hour on Sunday mornings once a month. And that's 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. And what else, Metatron? Okay. There could be a lot of fire playing out. Okay. I know we've talked about Australia, and I appreciated all of you too in the comments when you were mentioning, what's going on with the weather for you. We did actually work and almost every single time I think it's pretty much every time that we've done the Emerald Fire meetings, we do work on, my cat scratching at the door. We work on Australia. I see when I look there, and I'm not at all making a prediction because he's not showing me that. So I want to be clear. It just looks destabilizing to me. It just looks like there's a lot of frenetic energy. So, anytime that you want to do, if you don't want to go do the Emerald Fire meetings, if you ask to just witness and you just envision the tetrahedron going down under Australia, under Alberta. We've got quite a heat wave happening in Southern California. I know there was the sand fire going on in Northern California. So we'll keep all of that in mind. Anytime you see triple digits in June in Southern California, that's weird. And it's in the 50s here today. I'm wearing like the long sleeves and everything, which is fine. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying that a lot of us are contending with strange weather. Again, it also looks like there could be quite a few floods coming up when you look at the energies that we're contending with. So I'm going to get more into that in the solstice video because we're longer than I usually go. So but we've got for the full moon, and as we come into the full moon solstice, Nessus, which is abuse or wrapping up of karmic cycles, is retrograde. They're with Neptune, and they're not, a lot of people would say, oh, they're not an orb. They're an orb. They're an orb. Neptune is a big guy, so you got to give him a wide berth. Also, by the way, too, Venus and Gemini, great time to go out dancing, go into the city, meet a friend. Anything that you can do like socially or like to stimulate your mind. Do something that you love. Go visit an art museum. Whatever you want to do, like that's just for you right now. Feed yourself, feed your vibration. So all right, guys. All right, everybody. I really hope that you're all doing well. Let me know in the comments how you guys are doing. I'm always curious to hear, what's happening for you. I know probably the tired is going to be a lot of people saying that because you just hear that going around town, really, how tired people are these days. So anyway, guys, love you. And I'm sending you so many good intentions for this full moon in Sagittarius at the Galactic Center. Lots of downloads. We're, working with 2 portals. So it's pretty exciting. And, we need this influx of light. And here it comes. So, all right, everybody, you take care.